Happy New Year. I hope you had a wonderful holiday season. Mine was a bit of a roller coaster. I had a family emergency and had to fly last minute to New Jersey. I'll spare you the details because it was a lot, but what I will share is that one of the gifts I've received from all of the past decades of loving a close family member with a very serious illness is the understanding of how precious life is and the knowing that in the end, love is the most important thing. I know that these things sound corny and trite in many ways, almost like a Hallmark card. But at the same time, the older that I get, and hopefully the wiser that I get, the more I embody and try to live these two truths. Moving through the moments, being in gratitude for life and the time that we have here, and also making it my priority to give out love and take in love, to really cherish all the love I have and all the love that's been created in my life, to really let others know how loved and cherished and important they are. So, my wish at the beginning of this year for myself and for you is that none of us take any moment of our lives for granted and that we feel and experience a lot of connection and love each day. And one way to spread and create love, one of the many, many ways to spread and create love is to lead groups, workshops, and retreats that bring community together and that support people to feel seen, heard, loved, connected, and safe. A big part of being able to lead groups in this way is your facilitation skills. And the other big part of this is your curriculum. This month, I'm going to be hosting a community masterclass where we'll dive into the transformative power of curriculum. I'll be sharing with you some of the skills and tips you need to be able to craft a curriculum, whether it's for a 2 hour workshop or for a year-long program. A curriculum that is so potent and so effective that your clients and students have life-changing experiences through the work. It's 90 minutes of content about putting together groups that you can't find anywhere else, and it's completely free. So, whether you're totally new to creating curriculum or like me, you've been creating programming for decades, you're gonna want these tips that I'll be sharing you. I'll drop the link to the masterclass in the show notes, and I'd love to see you there. And speaking of curriculum, today we're going to be talking about thought leadership. Because thought leadership is a concept that's used a lot in the coaching and educational and transformational industries. And it's an important concept. You need it to be able to create group programs and courses, as well as to be able to sell group programs and courses. But that being said, thought leadership is also a term that is highly misunderstood and can cause anxiety and blocks to creating curriculum and general lots of trouble. Over the years, I've noticed that it can feel triggering for many coaches, teachers, and leaders at first when they consider their own thought leadership. It's not uncommon to encounter a variety of reactions when the topic comes up. For example, it can bring up a kind of recoiling feeling, that gut feeling that tells you other people are thought leaders, but that's just not what you're capable of. internally, it might sound something like, no, 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 I'm not a thought leader. Who am I to even think I could be a thought leader? For other people, the idea of thought leadership can bring up a strong aversion, almost like a disgust at the concept. Something like, ew, thinking you're a thought leader is so ego-based and snobby and wrong. Only people full of themselves think that they're a thought leader. And yet, for other people, the idea of thought leadership can bring up a sense of frustration with yourself. It's kind of like that heavy sigh of, ugh, I've tried so hard to figure out my unique ideas and methodology and my own thought leadership, but I just can't seem to crack the code. All of the ideas are taken, and there's nothing new for me to contribute. And yet, for other people, the idea of thought leadership can even bring up a feeling of fear that you're doing something wrong or even unethical. It might go something like, oh my goodness, what if I teach something that I didn't realize is really somebody else's fresh ideas? I don't want to steal. Now, all of these reactions kind of reveal how loaded the term thought leadership can be, especially for teachers, coaches, and course creators, because it pokes at our vulnerabilities in some deeply personal ways. This idea of thought leadership can often bring up all of the worries at our core about our own self-worth. It brings up questions like, are my ideas really good? Or what if my expertise isn't fresh or new or unique enough? Or I don't even know what my thing is. How could I lead others with it? Right. And then, of course, this idea of thought leadership can also bring up the deepest of questions. Am I good enough? I know that for myself, when I first started putting together workshops and courses and curriculum and circles, and even when I first started writing newsletter articles and blog articles, I so wanted to be a thought leader. And at the same time, I was very worried that I wasn't expert enough, or that I wasn't unique enough, or that I didn't have anything new and important to really contribute. And I also, of course, felt like everybody else had ideas and new ideas that I just didn't have. I share all of this with you to say it's normal to feel this way. And for those of us who deeply value authenticity and mastery in our work, and also for those of us who understand how important it is for business to be able to stand out from the crowd, all of these different fears and anxieties about thought leadership can feel paralyzing. And then here's part of the challenge. Thought leadership is a concept that is coveted across the coaching and transformational industries. It's everywhere. Coaches are constantly hearing how important it is to quote unquote step into their thought leadership. But despite its popularity as a term, very few people actually know what thought leadership means. It's vague, it's lofty, and it's often thrown around without any tangible explanation. And that's part of what makes it so hard. How can you possibly embrace or activate a concept for yourself when it feels so intangible and so big? So, first things first, if you're feeling stuck, self critical, or confused about your thought leadership, I want to let you know this. You already have thought leadership inside of you. Yes, you do. Anyone who has wisdom and life experiences and any kind of successes or failures and the full range of human experience has thought leadership inside of them. If you've lived life and you've been present to it and reflected on it and learned life lessons from it, you've got thought leadership. I can pinky promise you this. And I can do that because I have worked with many, many hundreds of coaches, therapists, healers, and teachers to draw out their thought leadership, to draw it out of them, and to create curriculum and courses that are noteworthy and very powerful and very effective. Thought leadership is about digging into the unique combination of insights, experiences, and perspectives that only you can bring to the table. And I promise you, my friend, it is absolutely within reach for you to articulate your thought leadership and put it into a curriculum. Now, if you're a coach, a teacher, or course creator, being clear about your thought leadership isn't just a nice to have, it is essential. Without clarity on your thought leadership, your curriculum risks staying surface level instead of creating the deep transformations that you want to make. Also, without clarity on your thought leadership, prospective students may not feel the pull to enroll in your course because the why you and why your course factor isn't fully coming through. It can really only fully come through when you've got clarity on your thought leadership. So, because thought leadership is so mystifying, while at the same time, it is so essential. I thought it would be really valuable to break down some of the myths out there about thought leadership, especially as it relates to the coaching and transformational industries, so that you don't have to continue to worry or feel paralyzed about creating your course or judge your content. And instead, you can move forward and birth the amazing material and content and curriculum that are already inside of you. So, before I share with you what thought leadership actually is, or at least the way that I define it, let's talk for a moment about what thought leadership isn't. Number one, thought leadership is not about being totally unique in every single aspect of what you do. So if that's what you've been thinking it is, you can take a deep sigh. You don't have to be totally unique in every single aspect of what you do in order to share your thought leadership. Also, thought leadership is not about being the only person in the industry to share particular ideas or concepts. You don't have to be the only one. We're going to talk much more about this. So, again, deep sigh, right? That takes some pressure off. And then number three, thought leadership is not about having an endless supply of cutting edge and groundbreaking concepts. Trying to tick all of those boxes that I just mentioned would be exhausting and honestly impossible considering the amount of course creators and content creators that are out there right now. It's also important to share that thought leadership is not about having already published a book on any given topic or having already been given tons and tons of accolades or awards or even any public recognition for your ideas. You may know that I haven't yet published a book, and yet I do believe that I am absolutely a thought leader. My courses and my trainings have many, many, many unique and potent ideas that make big impact on others. I'll also tell you, I haven't won any awards or any major PR. And yet, despite that, I've been told many, many times, way more times than I can count, that my work and my courses and my writing and my trainings have been more impactful than master's programs and doctorate programs and beyond. I think that it's something that can really mess with us sometimes, the thought that we need to be published or we need a ton of PR, right? Or that we need any kind of outside validation in order to make us something, in order to make us a thought leader. And I really want to remind you to not let the feeling that you need outside validation get in your way of developing and articulating your thought leadership. Again, you can have thought leadership without any of that outside validation. Okay, so now that we've named what thought leadership is not, let's go a little bit deeper and talk about what thought leadership actually is. And I'm really excited to share this with you because I hope it will help you see that you absolutely do have thought leadership inside of you that you can access right away if you choose. So, the first part of thought leadership is you being willing to claim your expertise in a particular area where you have powerful wisdom and experience to share. This means actually recognizing and owning the wisdom and experience you bring to the table in a particular area. Thought leadership doesn't require you to know everything about everything. Thought leadership doesn't require, as we already said, to have written a book on the topic. Thought leadership doesn't mean 10,000 people have gone through your program. But instead, the first part is about being confident in yourself, in the specific area where you've done the work, where you've learned the lessons and gained insights that can help other people. In other words, the first piece to articulating and then sharing your thought leadership is an inside job. It's about you owning that you have thought leadership. So, for example, if you've helped dozens of clients build healthier boundaries in their relationships, that's your expertise and your thought leadership. Claim it. Or if you've navigated a major career change later in life and you've developed strategies for others who are later in life to make major career changes, that's your thought leadership waiting to be shared. Claim it. Now, for those of you who are listening to me say this and thinking to themselves, what is Joanna talking about? Thought leaders need to have at least some proven record of impact. Well, okay, we can argue that maybe this is what's required to be a thought leader. But what I'm talking about here is kind of like the precursor to being a thought leader. And that's having thought leadership inside of you and being willing to own it, claim it, and then articulate it and express it to others, right? This is the first step to becoming a thought leader. It's being willing to articulate your ideas and having confidence in them. We have to start somewhere, right? Okay, number two, the second part to thought leadership is articulating your nuanced perspective. So, thought leadership is about expressing your unique way of framing and communicating ideas with nuance. Even if others out there are sharing similar concepts, your voice and your interpretation make the ideas distinct. And here's the beauty of this. Your thought leadership doesn't exist in isolation. It's the unique combination of your skills, your talents, your hobbies, your background, and your personality that come together to create something that only you can offer. Your nuances, your details of your personal experience, and your interpretation all contribute to making your thought leadership entirely your own, even if some of the concepts or pathways that you share overlap with what others are doing. And that's because it's your particular voice and personality, the way that you connect the dots that make your message resonate differently and have meaning and impact for others. So, for example, let's say that you're a creativity coach and you're crafting a course on creativity. Instead of talking about creativity and the steps to unlocking creativity in broad terms, you might bring in your background and experience with mindfulness. And then your thought leadership becomes helping your course participants unlock their artistic potential through presence and mindfulness. Or here's another example. Maybe you're a business coach who ties marketing strategies to nature, using seasons and cycles as metaphors for sustainable growth. Within that, you might teach about some marketing strategies that are already being shared in other places in the industry. But the way that you contextualize those strategies with nature, the way that you bring your personal perspective on the cycles, that's what brings the marketing strategies then to life in a way that nobody else can. And that's your thought leadership. The other related piece to this, which I think is important, is that different Audiences need to hear and process information in different ways. So, for example, a busy working mom of three children, and let's say her children are even all under the age of 10. This busy working mom, she needs to hear about productivity and getting things done differently than, say, a young professional who doesn't have any responsibilities to taking care of others. The strategies of productivity, even if there are some similarities between the busy working mom and the young professional, are still going to be different for each audience, right? Each audience needs to hear it differently and needs to think about different things when it comes to productivity. And so, this is the other way that you can shine your own unique thought leadership. Because again, the sum of your experiences and skills and personality and background, etc., is what's going to help you speak to your ideal audience. Another way to think of this is that so much of thought leadership isn't in the broad and general ideas, but it's in the details and the nuances that you include. That's where the thought leadership is. So, one tip here when you articulate your thought leadership is number one, to get really clear on that sum of your experience, skills, personality, and how it impacts the topic that you want to teach. And then from there, slow things down. Add in the details and the nuances so that you, as you create your ideas, your curriculum, etc., you start to connect the dots for your ideal client in your unique way. Okay, so there's one more way that I want to offer to you today to think about thought leadership. When you're being a disruptor, you're being a thought leader. When you're being a disruptor, you're being a thought leader. In other words, when you have ideas that challenge the status quo in your industry or go against the grain of conventional thought, those can become a cornerstone of your thought leadership. Now, being a disruptor does not mean being controversial for the sake of it. Instead, it means courageously offering perspectives that lead to better results for your ideal clients, even if those perspectives are the opposite of what others teach. And I'll share with you, and for those of you that know me well or have been following me for a long time, you know this. I've been a disruptor in the coaching and transformational industries for many, many years now. I've really spoken up around the importance of coaching becoming a profession of depth and one that goes beyond cognitive support into understanding somatic techniques. For many years now, I've really been speaking up around the importance of coaching, of coaches learning excellent skills instead of focusing all the time on marketing. For years now, I've really been speaking up around the importance of being trauma informed and ethical in all of your work and in all of your marketing. And I'll tell you that being a disruptor and speaking my truth, especially in the early years when a lot of people disagreed with what I was saying, when it made some people angry at me, when it felt like I was taking on the multi-billion-dollar coaching industry. It was hard. It was not easy to be a disruptor, but at the same time, I can say for certain that it's one of the things that established me as a thought leader. It can be scary to go against the grain, but I'm sharing all of this to remind you of how important it is, both for your level of impact and for your thought leadership and for your peace of mind, to speak your truth, even when it feels scary or unpopular. Okay, so I hope that all that we've looked at together in this episode is helping you see that embracing thought leadership doesn't require you to prove anything. It's about claiming what's already yours, the sum of your experience and personality and skills, interests, passions, beliefs, and then allowing your work, your writing, your curriculum, and your messaging to evolve from that foundation. So, if the idea of thought leadership has felt intimidating or out of reach, I hope that the reframing that we did today eases some of that pressure. And I hope that it helps you see that stepping into your thought leadership is not only possible, but really important for the work that you're here to do. As I said earlier, you have thought leadership inside of you. I am certain of it. All of this is why I'm so passionate about helping coaches and healers and teachers put together group programs and curriculum. That's because when you really create a curriculum that's based on your unique thought leadership in the ways that we've been discussing today, when you do this, in addition to having a potent, unique program that you can be proud of, then your curriculum also becomes the basis of your book, if you want to write one, or your podcast, or your TED Talk, or your newsletter articles, your social media posts. A curriculum based on your thought leadership brings together all of your content. It brings everything together and provides the ideas and foundation for all the assets that you want to create in your business and all the ways that you communicate with the public and all the ways that you want to make impact. If you'd like to go deeper into your thought leadership and also learn how to create a curriculum that reflects your thought leadership and one that is also highly transformative and as powerful as you are, I would be honored if you joined me later this month for the transformative power of curriculum. It is, as I mentioned earlier, a 90-minute masterclass that is completely free, where I share with you 7 foundational pieces that you absolutely need in order to create a powerful curriculum and program. Again, I'll drop that link into the show notes. And that 90-minute teleclass or masterclass is also a little taste of the upcoming Life Changes courses training, where you get a full 10 weeks in a container with me, where I give you feedback consistently on your curriculum. I teach you step by step how to create curriculum, how to create exercises inside of your curriculum, and how to become a facilitator that is very transformational. All right, my friends, I hope you enjoyed today's episode, and I will see you soon. Happy New Year.